Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into the latest transcription we received, from those philosophical dialogues we've been tracking.
Right. The author and the interlocutor are definitely back at it.
And it looks like they've moved into a kind of spiral, building on that previous discussion.
Yeah, the one about the impossibility of wanting to want.
Exactly, that you can't just, force yourself to desire something fundamentally new.
So having set that internal boundary, the author now wants us to rewind a bit.
Go back to the beginning.
Sort of. Look at the foundation. The difference between thinking simply and thinking complexly. The mission here seems to be analyzing that shift from internal will to actual external action.
Okay, and right up front, they hit us with the core question, the big paradox driving this whole thing.
Which is?
Why can someone think in a simple way, even when they already have enough knowledge to think in a complex one?
That's a good one.
And it's incredibly relevant, I think, especially for you, the listener, the learner. You've got the articles, you have the data, but sometimes, well, the brain just defaults to basic, right?
And the author is careful here. They really emphasize that complex thought isn't even possible for everyone.
Right.
Without that prerequisite knowledge, you just can't do it. It's impossible.
Like trying to build a skyscraper with only, I don't know, Lego bricks.
Something like that. You can't argue quantum physics if you haven't grasped basic mechanics first. Knowledge is the absolute foundation.
And they use a great modern analogy for this in the source material, the large language model, the AI.
Oh yeah, the LLM example.
Imagine an AI, super capable tech, but it's only trained on, 3 very specific scientific articles.
Right, a really narrow data set.
So the author asks, can that model possibly produce a complex, nuanced answer that steps outside those 3 articles?
Well, obviously not. Its complexity is just structurally capped by its input.
So that firmly establishes knowledge as the entry ticket.
But, and this is key, that's not the main focus here.
Okay.
We're zooming in on those who have done the reading, who do have the capacity, people who could, if they chose, generate those complex thoughts.
But they don't. They stick to simple, almost reflexive thinking.
Exactly.
Initially, the dialogue throws out 2 sort of standard reasons why this might happen.
The usual suspects.
Pretty much. Either the person doesn't want to think complexly.
Okay, lack of desire.
Or they doesn't know that it's possible.
Ignorance of the option, basically.
Yeah, they treat these like 2 separate paths. But the dialogue immediately starts pushing back on that distinction.
And to do that, they have to drill down into what motivation actually is.
Right.
The author gives this really elegant, concise definition.
Which is?
Motivation is desire plus value. Simple as that.
Desire plus value. Okay. So you have to want the outcome.
That's the desire part.
And you have to believe the outcome is worth the effort, the struggle.
That's the value piece.
Yeah.
Both need to be there.
Okay, but here's where the paradox gets, really interesting and, frankly, relatable.
How so?
The interlocutor brings up that classic scenario. We've all seen it, maybe even been there. Someone is genuinely unhappy with how things are.
Right, dissatisfied.
They want a better life, a more interesting job. They want to change their habits, their thinking.
Yeah.
But, they just don't take the big steps.
The desire is clearly present, but the action isn't.
Exactly. The desire seems to be burning bright.
So the question becomes, if the desire is there, what's missing? What's the block?
And the interlocutor suggests, maybe. Maybe the missing piece is the knowledge of how to actually bridge that gap.
Okay, the practical knowledge.
Wait a minute, though. Let's plug that back into the formula. Desire plus value equals motivation.
Okay.
If we agree the desire is there, but the action is missing, doesn't saying they don't know where to find the value just sound like a fancy way of saying they're lazy?
That's a really important challenge. How do we separate this philosophical ignorance from just, plain old lack of discipline?
Yeah.
Well, the author does acknowledge there's overlap, for sure, but they stress a fundamental difference. Laziness or procrastination usually implies you know the value, you see the reward, but you still choose not to act.
Okay.
What the dialogue is identifying here is something deeper. It's that the person hasn't actually connected the action, the complex thought, the hard learning, to an outcome of true, profound value.
So the value component itself is missing, or at least not recognized.
Exactly. They're stuck because they don't know where to find the value. They literally can't see how this difficult path leads to that worthwhile destination.
So they might want change in a very abstract sense, like I want to be happier or I want to be richer, but they don't grasp that this specific difficult path, the path of complex knowledge, is the actual mechanism that unlocks that high-level value they crave.
Precisely. And this right here is the critical turning point in the dialogue. It's the aha moment in the transcription.
It's the big reveal.
Kinda. And it's the biggest takeaway for you, the listener. Because once you frame the missing piece as this knowledge of how to access true value,
Then what happens?
then both of those original cases, those two initial reasons, they just collapse into one.
Wait, both of them?
Yeah.
So whether someone thinks they doesn't want to do the work, or they think they doesn't know that it's possible to get the reward,
Yep.
in the end, they both reduce to one thing: doesn't know.
It's all ignorance, but crucially, a very specific kind of ignorance.
Go kind.
It's not just lacking a random fact, it's an unawareness of the ultimate payoff. The author puts it very clearly. The person doesn't know even that it could give them something truly valuable.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think of someone who genuinely believes happiness comes only from, say, simple material comforts. A new car, a bigger house. Now, that person might possess all the raw knowledge needed to engage in deep, complex existential thought. They could read philosophy, grapple with big questions.
But they won't.
They won't, because they have absolutely zero concept that things like self-reflection or, philosophical struggle could possibly yield a higher, more stable, more profound kind of contentment than that new car ever could. They don't see the value there.
Wow. Okay. That reframing is, well, it's pretty profound.
It is.
Because if lack of action isn't necessarily a moral failing, not just weak willpower or laziness, but fundamentally a lack of information about the actual reward, how does that change things?
Well, it shifts our perspective on personal stagnation, doesn't it?
Yeah. It moves the problem away from being some kind of internal character flaw.
Right, I'm just not disciplined enough.
And turns it into an external knowledge deficit, something you can actually address.
Exactly. It kind of shatters that idea that willpower is the only thing that matters. You don't just need more grit, maybe. Maybe you need a clearer picture of the reward structure.
Like, you need to understand what's really at the top of the mountain.
Precisely. If you don't know that scaling this particular cognitive mountain gives you this incredible view, one that expands your whole world, well, you'll naturally just stay down in the comfortable valley.
Even if you're vaguely unhappy there.
Even then, because you haven't connected the difficulty of the climb to the true scale of the value waiting at the summit.
Okay. So if the problem is this fundamental ignorance about the real value of complex thought, then the only thing that could possibly cure that ignorance,
Yeah.
it must be the promise of something truly incredible,
Yeah.
an amazing value.
Exactly. You need to see what's actually on offer. And that's where the dialogue transitions smoothly, defining that extraordinary reward.
And the stakes they describe are, well, they're huge. The author lays out two, frankly, jaw-dropping promises for what happens when you gain this specific knowledge and embrace complexity.
Yeah, they don't hold back.
The first promise sounds almost cosmic.
Go on.
It could expand a person's tiny inner world to the edge of the universe.
Wow. Yeah, that's not just learning a new skill.
No, that's like shattering your cognitive boundaries entirely, a total perspective shift.
It really describes a state of profound intellectual and, I'd say, philosophical growth.
And then the second promise.
Yeah.
It brings that vastness right down to the personal level. Deeply personal.
And what's that?
It could make one happy, where others see no happiness at all.
That might be the most critical reward mentioned.
Right. It suggests this kind of independent source of contentment. Happiness that isn't just dependent on external stuff, on circumstances.
Happiness from the inside out, maybe. Impervious to what's going on around you.
The philosophical weight of those two outcomes, the universe expansion and the deep happiness, it's staggering.
It really is. And the author even admits that, words are weak trying to describe it.
Yeah, you can't easily put it into language. It implies a reward that transcends just talking about it. It's something you have to experience to truly get the value.
And that circles us right back to the initial problem, doesn't it?
How so?
If the reward is that vast, that life-changing, how could anyone fail to pursue it?
Because they don't know it exists.
Or they don't know where to even start looking for that knowledge.
Which brings us neatly to the final, really powerful question the interlocutor poses. It's like the ultimate riddle summing up this whole investigation.
Let's hear it.
And where can such knowledge be found? Simple question, right? If this cosmic level, foundation-shifting happiness is reachable through this knowledge, where's the map? Where do we find it?
It is a simple question, but the author's answer is Well, it's deliberately provocative. Maybe even a little frustrating.
Designed to make you think, for sure.
Definitely designed to trigger some immediate self-reflection in you, the listener.
So the concluding observation, it lands like a real punchline. It's always with us.
Okay. So it's accessible.
But people keep looking around everywhere except the only place where it actually is.
Oh.
And then they just leave it there, hanging, forcing you to think, wait, if it's always with me, but I'm looking everywhere else.
Then you must be looking in all the wrong directions, searching externally for something internal.
Exactly. We're searching for the answers out there, maybe overlooking the most obvious place.
So if we try to synthesize this whole deep dive, the core takeaway seems pretty clear.
Go for it.
The biggest barrier to achieving that complex thought, to recognizing that true foundational value, it isn't really motivation in the simple sense or desire or even just lack of discipline.
It's ignorance.
It's ignorance specifically of the sheer scale of the reward and, crucially, ignorance of where to find the knowledge that unlocks it.
Especially since that knowledge is supposedly always available, always with us.
Right. Which leads to some fascinating self-reflection, doesn't it?
Definitely. If this knowledge is always with us, yet we keep looking everywhere else, what does that imply?
It implies the source is something incredibly fundamental, so close, maybe so basic, that we just completely overlook it while we're busy chasing external goals or distractions.
And that's the riddle they've left us hanging with until next time.
What is that place? Where is it?
And you can really feel the author intends to keep going with this series. These themes are building, pointing towards, well, something significant.
Yeah, you definitely get the sense this is part of a larger arc.
So we really encourage you, if you haven't already, to maybe check out the previous releases, get the full context, because it feels like we're tracking a really fascinating path here.
Absolutely. And you can find the video formats of all our previous analyses, plus this deep dive, right there on the channel page. Or, if you prefer, you can listen to the audio version on the go as a podcast.
So until next time.
Yeah, until next time, maybe start looking for that knowledge that's supposedly always with us. Where could that place actually be? Keep exploring.